Check that out. Beautiful sugar snap peas. I turn this at a 45-degree angle and just give it a gentle, rough chop like this. Nothing too fancy. You want it to be able to fit on your fork and give you a bite. Now, I don't need all of these. Just want enough to give it a nice bright color and nice sweet flavor. I think that's enough. Oh, look at all those colors. The aroma is incredible. I'd like to finish with a little bit of garlic chives. These are just the young sprouts of garlic. The ends are a little bit woodsy, and we don't use those. I'll leave these off to the side. And I just want these beautiful bulbs at the top, just in matchstick lengths, like that. Nice, okay. Throw that in there. I want to give this a little bit of our dressing. That way, it'll marry beautifully when I dress them with my noodles. This smells incredible. Let's give this a quick little taste. The soy sauce to dress those carrots. I'm getting the sweetness, the sharpness from all the other flavors, and those shiitake mushrooms are, like I said, they're amazing. Not in the fridge, silly. Soba noodles. Cooking soba noodles is just like cooking spaghetti. In this case, I don't add salt because that's coming from my dressing. We have our water boiling. We're gonna put our soba noodles into our water. My soba noodles are doing great in their boiling away. They'll take just a few minutes. My stir fry is almost ready, and I don't want to forget, I gotta crust my salmon with my nori. Salmon and noodles, two quick fixes for a hungry stomach. By adding nori, I'm marrying two flavors from the sea. Using my obedient ingredient nori, I'm gonna turn my everyday fish dinner into something out of this world. But first, onto my soba noodle salad.
Let's do it!
I want to finish my soba noodle salad with our sesame soy dressing. Once I start to dress it with our dressing here, the oil from our vegetable oil as well as our sesame oil will coat the noodles and keep them separate. Also, while it's hot, I want to dress it so that it soaks up all of that juicy, juicy dressing. I love to use my hands, but the soba noodles are really hot. They just came out of the water, and I want to dress them. So I want to use chopsticks. Plus, it's fun. The average size of a salmon portion would be about 6 to 8 ounces, so this is good for about 2 portions. You want to make sure that the salmon does not have a fishy odor. It should smell very clean and very fresh. It shouldn't have any slime to it at all. I should be able to snap my fingers. That's when you know you have a really good fresh salmon. I love to eat the skin. Personally, it's my favorite part, and it crisps up really beautifully. But if you don't love it, you can easily trim that off, and I'll show you how to do that. Score the side of it like this, just so you can get into it, and holding the bottom of the skin here like that, very gently run your knife at a 45-degree angle to remove that skin. I'm just gonna cut these down and portion them into 2 equal-sized portions. 2 beautiful portions. I would say that's about 5 ounces. I like to use a non-stick pan just to be safe, but if you cook the salmon properly, it really shouldn't make that much of a difference. Beautiful. I want to make sure that I'm using a separate cutting board because I don't want to contaminate the surface of this cutting board because I'll be needing to use this very shortly. I want to get a little bit of vegetable oil in my pan to allow that to heat up. Now, I don't need a lot, just enough to lightly coat the bottom. I want to season it with a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Not a lot, because fish tends to be a little bit on the salty side. That looks beautiful already. I want to make sure my pan is at a medium-high heat so my salmon forms a really nice crust. Don't move it around. That's the #1 mistake that people make when cooking a lot of meats or fishes, which are very delicate. But with a non-stick pan, it becomes a little bit foolproof. Now this is starting to form a crust. I want to just gently check it. Fantastic. Look at that. It's starting to caramelize, bring out some of the natural sugars in the salmon to form a really, really beautiful crust. The crust on the salmon is more from the searing, and it's a beautiful golden brown, not to be confused with the nori crust we're about to put on it. I'm just gonna lightly and loosely pack it, guiding it with my other hand on the top. I'm gonna get all these little bits as much as I can and give it a nice little pat. We wanna make sure that that stays on. I want to finish this in the oven, because when you cook it, it gets nice and crispy. 350 degrees for about 7 to 10 minutes. Our soba noodle salad is coming together. It's marinating and soaking up all of those juices. Our vegetables are ready to go. Our crusted salmon is in the oven, and I can't wait to bring this all together. I love tea, especially green tea. It's gonna go great with my nori crusted salmon and soba noodle salad. I was shown time-honored, traditional way of preparing it, and I'm gonna share the secret with you. My fish and noodle midweek meal is far from everyday now. The flavors are really coming together in my soba noodle salad, and my salmon's already in the oven, encrusted with nori, which is our obedient ingredient. I can't wait to dig in. The perfect drink to go with our nori-crusted salmon is a green tea. I was trained how to make this green tea from a Chinese monk, and I follow these directions every day very specifically. I've brought my water up to the boil, I shut it off, and I let it rest for 1 minute exactly. I pour this off into the cup that we're gonna be drinking into, pour off the excess, and as well, we warm this cup to energize the qi. I add a ½ teaspoon of my loose green tea, place it inside. I fill it up with water, just enough to cover the green tea, and I allow it to rest for about 10 to 15 seconds, just long enough for the tea to blossom. And that as well, I pour off. Now we get to it. We fill up our teapot with hot water for exactly 1 minute. Now that's exactly 1 minute. I'm gonna strain my tea, and I pour off my cup. After 1 minute in our first batch, that's a perfect cup of tea. My green tea is done and perfect. I wanna finish my salad. Woohoo! Nice. Just get all of our vegetables that have been lightly dressed and warmed through. Our noodles go into the bowl very similarly. Just gonna gently toss this so that all the vegetables are evenly dispersed. We saved some of our dressing. I just want to coat that now that this has cooled down a little bit, just to give it a little extra punch. Give it a nice light toss once again. We just want to put enough sesame seeds that it looks nice, you know? It's like a summer parade of soba. Oh, beautiful. Time to plate this up. We'll give this one last little light toss. Just grab a little bit for noodles. Ooh, give it a little twist. Like a neat little mound. I want to check on my salmon. It should be done. Smell that. Perfect. I know when it's done when my salmon starts to give off some of its fat and it's medium rare. Very gently, we will scoop this up. Look at all the colors, the crunch from our nori topping. It's beautiful. We're just gonna top this off with a little bit more of our obedient ingredient, nori. Just gonna roll it up really gently. Just cut it, regular scissors. Just cut them little strips like that. Time for music. This looks amazing. soba noodles have sucked up all of that dressing, and they have that nuttiness from the sesame seeds, as well as the saltiness from the soy. And the finish from that seaweed, it's out of this world. Our salmon is perfectly tender and flaking off. A slight sweetness in the salmon, and the nori is balancing it out in that crunch. I've taken an everyday salmon dish and turned it into a healthy, nori-crusted salmon with soba salad.